Hello, dear friends of IoT, and welcome to this 50-minute short episode of the IoT Use Case Podcast, the channel for real-world IoT in industrial practice. I'm your host, Madeleine Mickeleit, mechanical engineer and background in IoT business development. And as you know, I love to focus on IoT applications. They are already working in practice. And that's why I've invited a guest today from the machinery and metal processing industry based in Hanau near Frankfurt, Germany, because this market segment has huge potential when it comes to saving costs and creating a real value with IoT. Joining me today is Frederic Schum. He's product manager for digital solutions at company ALD Vacuum Technologies. He'll walk us through how their customers are using IoT in real projects and which use cases they are tackling and what you should keep in mind when you're starting a similar initiative. You will find all implementation info and contact links in the show notes as usual and on iotusecase.com. Let's go. Hi, Frederic. Good to have you in the podcast today. So I'm just looking up when our last episode was. It was episode 133, but it's been a while, so nice to have you back today. So Frederic, you are the product manager digital solutions at ALD. In your role, you're driving the digital transformation in your company with a background in industrial and mechanical engineering and years of experience in automation and industrial IT. I guess you have been shaping ALD digital product portfolio since day one, right? And great to bring ALD further here into the digital area. What personally excites you the most about your work at ALD? And what are some, I don't know if you say that in English too, so like aha moments in your experience when working with customers? Do you have something like that?
Yeah, definitely, Madeleine. So my background is mechanical engineering, and since right now 7 years in 2 months.
Wow, been a while.
Yes, directly after my master studying, I'm working for ALD. I was the first employee starting in this new department. The name was Automation and Industrial IT. The idea of ALD was building up a new group, a new department in this conservative market for building up automation and digitalization solutions. I was responsible for the business development, creating or building up this new area, creating new products, design a product service portfolio. And after getting the first customer projects, ALD recognized that is a really important topic. The group gets bigger and bigger. Mm-hmm. Since 2.5 years, I'm working in the sales department. We created a new area in the sales department next to powder atomization plants, coating plants, melting and remelting plants. We have a new department named Digital Solutions. Mm-hmm. Since that time, I'm the, you can say, area manager because the department is growing for the digitalization solutions. And yeah.
Nice. I see. Cool. So what are we focusing on today?
Yes, I would say let's talk about a specific part of the process monitoring, the so-called golden batch functionality.
What does that mean in the practice with your customers? Because your core business is, of course, in the steel industry and you're building those big machines who are there on the customer side. So what does golden batch means in the practice for you and your customer here?
Golden batch means the comparison of the current process parameters, I would say the live trending of all the process parameters, mm-hmm. with the defined target value, the so-called golden curve, golden batch, golden process. This golden curve can be determined automatically by the application based on statistical comparisons from past batches which had good quality, or the second way, which is possible, the user can define the upper and lower limits per process parameter on his own.
I see. When I come to your website, there are different types of machines. So can you explain a bit more what type of machine could that be? And what is the melting process? And what are you doing with this machine?
So we can use this application for nearly every our furnaces. Mm-hmm. We had this in the podcast last year. We can also use the process monitor and the golden batch functionality for our coating furnaces. But here, let's go back to the melting and remelting sector. We have so-called VAR furnaces. Mm-hmm. Those VAR furnaces, we have a melting process to produce an ingot. And this ingot is better material than before, pure material in a cylindrical form which can be with a diameter of a half meter and a length of 6 to 8 meters, for example.
Yeah, wow.
As you can imagine, this melting process takes 8 hours or nearly 2 days, or a very long process. And this makes it so important to track the process parameters against the benchmark curve over the whole time. We have really important process parameters like the voltage, like the melting rate, and so on. And it's important to track these process parameters over the time to have at the end an automatically generated report of these process parameters.
Okay. Can you explain how your customers do it right now without your system, and why is that a problem?
So our customers, as I mentioned, produce this ingot during the melt over a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end, you have a very big cylindrical form, an ingot, and they use our furnace. They use a pre-selected recipe. In the recipe, all the process parameters are pre-selected, and they start the process. This is how it works at the moment. At the end, they have no system where the process parameter gets tracked automatically over a certain time, or they have no automated quality control. Not in detail, don't get me wrong, a little bit quality control is programmed in the furnace itself, but there's no automatically generated quality report.
I see. So some people would have in mind now an MES system or something where you say, hey, I have some data there. But why is it important to use this data not only in their own system, but do more with this data? Can you explain a bit where your customers are losing, I would say, time and money here in this process while not having the data yet?
You bring a really good point in, because the last years, our customers have a lot of requirements regarding integration of a level 2 or level 3 system, MES system. And this is where the application is linked to. We get the order from the MES system. Like on this melting example, you get an ingot ID, which alloy you want to create. You get the work order number, all this stuff from the ERP or from the MES system. And this production order data, I would say, is linked to our ALD EXPERT system. The furnace starts the production as it would do before without ALD EXPERT. And all the process parameters, which get tracked with the golden badge functionality over the time, get linked to this data at the beginning, ingot ID, and so on, to the MES or to the ERP system.
And with this data, I could also, I guess, do more things in the next step to analyze what you say, the golden badge, but also I could see maybe historical data or some, you're mentioning that this process is running for 8 hours or something when there failures occur. So I could also see more details with that, right?
We can always go back into the past, select the recipe or the melt name or the batch ID, and can visualize all the data from the past. And the big thing of this application is linking all the data together, recipe-related, batch-related, time-related, and an automatically generated report for all the process parameters.
Okay. How do you deal with like technical challenges? And do you see that often that customers say, I have an old control or something where I don't get the data out of that? Do you have that often?
Absolutely. We sell nearly 70 furnaces each year.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
You can imagine we have a lot of installed base in the market.
Worldwide, right?
Absolutely worldwide. I think over 5,000 furnaces, and a lot of furnaces are 30 years or older. So we have two ways of the connection. Sometimes we read out the data from the OIP. This is the so-called operator interface computer, the classic control of the furnace where the operator works with. They are stored CSV files, so-called log and DAT files, and we read this data out with own programmed log file parsers, for example. This is okay for data visualization, for live trending, and so on. But when you need high-frequency data, for example, for the monitoring of drive systems and so on, depends on your use case, depends on the customer requirements, we directly connect to the PLC. And there are new PLCs in the market. As you know, in the automotive sector, you have the Siemens PLC. They already have OPCUR, but it's few years. We have furnaces, they are 20, or 30 years old, as I mentioned,
Right.
because all over the world, some people have Mitsubishi PLCs, some have Rockwell PLCs. So we need a special programmed adapter for connecting directly to the PLC. And
Okay.
sometimes we use pre-configured solutions like Kepware from Rockwell Automation. Sometimes we do it on our own. Depends on the use case.
I see. So I would link your contact in the show notes, and please feel free to contact Frederic directly, because best practice sharing is key to learn and to grow in this project. And also feel free. I mean, we have our own community where you could share best practices also with other users. And I guess, Frederic, you're free to have some best practice sharing, right?
Yeah. You can connect via LinkedIn or Madeleine will help us. So I'm always open to have a conversation regarding use cases, how we solved it in the past. And yeah, always
Nice.
open for a nice conversation.
Okay, that's cool. So, and for the end, I would have 2 questions regarding to ALD EXPERT, because you're mentioning the solution before now. And I would love to learn a bit more about what ALD EXPERT is about and what kind of modules I would get with this solution. So could you explain a bit what ALD EXPERT is and what modules are coming with that?
Okay, so with ALD EXPERT, we have a wide variety of different solutions for the classic business of ALD, vacuum metallurgy, and heat treatment. So the first goal is always implementing the platform, the so-called ALD EXPERT GRID. We need a connection to all the installed equipment on the customer production side. This could be ALD equipment and also non-ALD equipment.
Yeah.
So making the connection directly to the operator interface computer or to the PLC, getting the data out and having the data from all the connected equipment directly on the platform. ALD EXPERT GRID platform has all the necessary IT setup, installed databases, the authentication of the user. Normally, we make a directly connection to the LDAP archive, so you can use your normal Windows credentials for login based on the platform. Again, where all the necessary IT setup is guaranteed for data security and so on, we can implement different type of, software modules. So these software modules serve the requirements for the customer. This could be a visualization of all the process data. This can be a condition monitoring of plant components, for example. This can be the process monitoring, especially with the statistical comparison and golden badge functionality, as we mentioned. And as you know, Madeleine, from the past, this could be the so-called AOS, Advanced Observation System, a camera system for monitoring the evaporation process of a pool, together combined with an intelligent algorithm. And yeah, a lot of different software modules based on the customer requirements.
Okay. How are you identifying now with this solution, the golden badge, so as an ideal reference for the future runs? And how do you do the data analytics? Because you're bringing in expertise and I guess your customer too. So how do you do that? How do you solve that in the end?
Visualization of process data is not a problem. Visualization of all the data which comes from the PLC is, I would say, easy. When we talk about process monitoring and golden badge, we use our expertise for creating an upper and lower limit over the time, or the customer tells us which batches had a good quality, and our application creates automatically the mid value. Based from this mid value, we create a standard deviation. And standard deviation from the mid value is the upper and lower limit for the actual process value.
Okay, that's cool. And for that, I just need ALD EXPERT GRID as a platform. And I will put you the link to the product website in the show notes so you could check that out. And also, as I said, please feel free to share some best practices. And Frederic, last questions for today. What can we look forward in the future? Are you going with this AI hype? So what can we expect for this year or the next year?
We have the AOS, the Advanced Observation System, installed cameras monitoring the process. We have an intelligent algorithm to detect anomalies, to display those anomalies, and don't want to tell too much, but right now we are in development for expanding this algorithm, for making an assistant where the application gives the operator hints. Please make this adjustment based on the videos. And I think in the future, for example, we will need AI in those applications. This could be the first use case of AI.
So thanks, Frederic, for this session. I appreciate your time. And from my side, thanks for listening up and have a great week, guys. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast.
Yeah, my last word, feel free to contact me via LinkedIn or via phone call, or Madeleine, you build a bridge for communication. Thank you, Madeleine. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.